Morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 33 in the book of Genesis. Today we're going to learn about an early warning alarm that the Lord gives to Cain. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 4 and verse 8 today. So, yesterday we were struck by the generosity of God in his interaction with the errors of Cain. So, he offers an unacceptable offering to the Lord, and the Lord helps him. So the Lord saw, the Lord interacted, the Lord speaks, and the Lord tells him that his offering and the offerer himself, Cain himself, was unacceptable. And the Lord has no regard is how it is phrased. So join me in Genesis chapter 4, and we're going to do the second half of verse 4. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering. That's his brother, and the Lord likes his offering. So the Lord has regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? And why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it." And then, most generously, the Lord, after seeing Cain's unacceptable sacrifice, he offers him, "Hey, you can change here. If you do well, won't you be accepted? I will accept you. I will accept your offering if you change and get better and get a better attitude." And he says to Cain these great words: "Sin is crouching at the door, and you must rule over it." And Cain's response here, he starts very angry, and his face fell, and he gets mad at God, and he gets mad at his brother, and he gets mad at Abel's offering and the position and the sacrifice that God does have regard for. So this is a tension point. And, in the story, we say, well, how is this going to end? So Cain has done wrong. He's got the wrong attitude. He's got the wrong face. He's got the wrong offering. And then he gets the Lord's correction. And there's hope. And there's this Lord's warning, this warning system that the Lord gives generously to him. You can rule over this. This is a critical moment. You can change. You can do better, Mr. Cain. You can rule over your bad attitude and your bad offering. And the bad blood that you now have towards your brother, this jealousy that you seem to have. So the Lord is offering Cain a way of escape. So remember from yesterday, every temptation has a way out and every sin has a way back. So the Lord is in the dominion granting business. And the Lord says to Cain I want you to exercise dominion over this temptation, over this bad offering, over this bad attitude towards me and your brother and the offering. So let's see how it turns out. Verse 8, Cain spoke to Abel, his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. So of interest, he speaks first to Cain, and maybe he explained why a mere man thinks this way, and at a brother that he's justified in the bad offering, the bad attitude, and the bad blood between them. But he rises up and he kills his brother's Abel. So this is offensive to God because God puts the breath of God into individuals, the breath of life. So he made Eve the mother of the living. And this wasn't their first day. They had grown up together, so that they weren't created old. They were created as babies in conception and with reproduction. They were made out of sexual relations and the fruit thereof. And Cain's action here usurps the position of God by placing mankind in the driver's seat. And this is no place for an individual to decide against another individual and take the life of another individual. Now, there is a role for society to do so, specifically for those who have violated this command of don't kill your fellow people. And rulers bear that responsibility for punishing and taking life, sometimes by taking of the life that took the life. And rulers bear responsible for killing in war. But here, an individual usurps what is not his to do. He takes what the Lord has given. He kills his own blood, his own family. Are we brothers or are we rivals? And in 1 John chapter 3, the New Testament gives some light as to what happened here. It says in the New Testament, we should not be like Cain, who was of the evil one, so that's not good, and murdered his brother. And why did he murder him? because his own deeds were evil and his brothers were righteous. So he fills in a little bit of the gaps here for us, and we find out that Cain had evil intent. This was carefully done, thoughtfully considered. It was done by violent means, and he was the cause of the death. And then we find that Cain, kind of in his heart, was of the evil one. Wait a minute! You mean to tell me we're on chapter 4 here of the Old Testament, and we just got done with the serpent and the curse in chapter 3? And why are we going back there? I thought we would never go back again. Of course, we're going to, for another 1,000 pages, we're going to go back. So you might be saying, hey, at least I'm not a killer. Well, don't forget what Jesus says. You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you, this is Jesus talking, I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Who insults his brother will be liable to counsel, and whoever says you fool will be liable to the hellfire. So just a couple conclusions today. Number one, don't take a life. Number two, Jesus fleshes that out in Matthew chapter 5, and he says, don't just not take a life, but don't be angry. Number three, don't treat your family like rivals. They're your blood, they're your family. Number four, don't give a poor offering of either attitude, attendance, or amount. And then the most important thing is don't reject the Lord's way of offering a way back. So every sin has a way back, and every temptation has a way out. So sin still crouches, but there's a way back. And let us not ignore the Lord's early warning alarms. Thanks for listening.